Hey everyone, Rich Gasway here. Just a quick reminder that the SA Matters show episodes are now all available on YouTube, in addition to iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play. Some of the guests I interview here on the show have some pretty amazing video content that they wanted to share, and it just wasn't working out well to do it only in an audio format. So now all the episodes are available on YouTube. Before I kick off this episode, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the live virtual training that's now available. How does it work? For those agencies who may not be able to afford a live classroom event, I will come to your organization via the internet and train your members on situational awareness and high-risk decision-making processes. It's sort of like a webinar, only it's live, real time, and actually get to talk to each other like in a classroom. And if someone can't make it to the training, no problem. I will provide you with a playback recording of the session for 30 days. For less than $1,000, you can train your entire team, everyone, on situational awareness. Virtual training, it truly is the easiest and most affordable way to train your entire team on this important topic. If you want to learn more about virtual training, visit the samatters.com website and click on the orange box on the right side of the homepage labeled Virtual Training Programs. If you want to talk to me about the program, then just click the Contact Us tab and I'll give you a call. All right, that's enough of the announcements. Roll that SA Matters show intro. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
This is Jason Corthell from the City of Pearland Fire Department. You're listening to the SA Matters radio show with Dr. Rich Gasaway. The SA Matters mission is simple. They want to help us see the bad things coming and time to avoid bad outcomes.
Welcome to episode 217 of the Situational Awareness Matters show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. From the beginning, the SA Matters mission has been a simple one: to help you see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes. This message of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making has been shared at conferences and at individual organizational events for 13 years now, and I've trained just over 66,000 students, including first responders, industrial workers, military personnel, business leaders, medical professionals, utility workers, aviation workers, oil refinery operators, and more. This message truly is for anyone who works in a high-risk, high-stress environment. I'm dedicated to improving your safety and your survival, and I'm here to offer you a message of hope and a message of inspiration, and to help you accomplish the most important goal of all, and that's to go home to the ones who love you. And speaking of sharing the message, today I'm coming to you from Henderson, Nevada, where I'm in town to deliver a situational awareness program for Fire Rescue Med Conference. This is my first time presenting at Fire Rescue Med, so I'm excited for the opportunity to make some new friends and to share this message of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making with EMS professionals. Okay, in today's feature segment, we're going to talk about how overstaffing can impact situational awareness. In high-risk, high-consequence work environments, it's far more likely to experience issues of understaffing, and we've discussed those at various times along the way, more than overstaffing. There can, however, be occasions, scenarios, where work sites or emergency scenes end up having too many people, and this can cause problems with situational awareness. But before we discuss our overstaffing, let me take a moment to mention the supervisor development training that I created. Some of you know that my second passion after situational awareness is developing the leadership skills of supervisors, something I didn't do a very good job of when I was the boss. I was guilty of promoting supervisors before they were prepared to lead others, and that was my fault. And then I got frustrated at them when they didn't provide good leadership to their team members or they didn't appropriately resolve personnel issues, and that was my fault too. So I created the Supervisor Development Training Program that can be customized to run anywhere from 2 days to 5 days. And no matter the length, there's no PowerPoint. Did you catch that? No PowerPoint. Can you imagine a week-long class that doesn't use PowerPoint? Is that even possible? Not only is it possible, but it's a better way to learn the skills of essential good leadership. When adults are engaged in the process of learning and not just being lectured to, learning can be fun. And the important thing is, the lessons stick. In this program, I share practical, actionable, best practices for leadership, problem solving, conflict resolution, teamwork, communications, motivation, accountability, generational leadership, discipline, coaching for performance improvement, and more. If you're interested in learning more about this program on how to teach your supervisors a different and better way to lead their team members to successful outcomes and a better way to hold those accountable who don't, contact me. One of the questions I get asked a lot by the readers of my blog and the listeners and the viewers of this show are, when are you coming to my area, or where are you going to be next? Great questions, and I've made it really easy to find out. There's a link on the homepage of the SA Matters website to all the upcoming events. It's the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Live Training Dates. Okay, let's jump into our feature segment, a discussion of how overstaffing can impact situational awareness. It's not something talked about often, especially in high-risk work environments. Overstaffing? Far more often, the focus is on issues of understaffing, which coincidentally can be a significant barrier to situational awareness and can have a catastrophic impact on safety. There can be, however, on occasion, scenarios where a work site or in an emergency scene can have too many people, and this can cause problems too. Before digging into what defines too much staffing, it might be necessary to discuss what is considered the right amount of staffing for high-risk work. This, of course, will vary depending on the size and the complexity of the problem being worked. Proper staffing can range from as few as 3 to 4 people to as many as 35 to 50, depending on the issue. One thing's for sure, send me everyone you can is not going to turn out well. This is what happened on August 1st, 2007, when 1,900 feet of the I-35W bridge collapsed in Minneapolis. My fire department was one of dozens of departments called in to help. Chances are, even though this was a very complex fire, rescue, and hazardous material incident, the Minneapolis Fire Department could have probably handled it fine with their on-duty staffing. But some well-intended Minneapolis police officer called his dispatcher and requested all the fire departments from Ramsey County to respond to the collapse scene. Now, mind you, this was done without the knowledge of the Minneapolis Fire Department incident commander, which after the incident caused this person to accuse all the fire departments from Ramsey County of self-dispatching to this emergency incident, which is a big no-no in the emergency response world, and which none of the Ramsey County Fire Departments did, and to which his false claims were promptly refuted by the recorded telephone call from the Minneapolis Police Department dispatcher to the Ramsey County 911 Center, and the impressive drop of consecutive tones over the radio alerting 10 fire departments from Ramsey County to respond to the incident scene. All of the accusations and miscommunications issues aside, this ended up being an incident that was way, and I mean way, overstaffed. I don't know what the final count was, but I would suspect that the responder to victim ratio was somewhere in the range of 10 to 1. The incident was more severely overstaffed than any that I had ever responded to. Due to the close proximity of my city to the actual bridge collapse, our crews were the first on the scene from any of the Ramsey County fire departments. But it didn't take long for the other resources to come flooding in, and this caused a host of communications, logistical, coordination, jurisdictional, safety, and situational awareness issues. Suffice it to say, overstaffing can be a big problem. Some agencies strive to front-end load their staffing for critical emergencies or upset conditions in a factory. This could be considered by some a best practice. It sure beats showing up with just a few people and then finding yourself in the midst of a serious emergency, significantly understaffed, and then making a desperate call for additional resources while the emergency or the upset condition just continues down a pathway of getting worse and likely more dangerous. The amount of resources the front-end load is a function of the size and the complexity of the reported emergency. The good news is the discussion and decisions about what is the right amount of staffing for various types of emergencies can be determined well in advance of the actual emergency. For example, some agencies and companies have policies that stipulate when the heat index exceeds a certain threshold in the summertime, staffing that responds to emergencies or upset conditions will be increased to reduce the impact of heat on those dealing with the emergency. Some companies ramp up their response to emergencies based on where in the factory the emergency occurs. Some fire departments, for example, increase their staffing for high-rise emergencies because of how labor-intensive it is in high-rise operations. The majority of organizations that I talk to are far more concerned with suffering the ill effects of understaffing than those associated situational awareness issues. However, there are times when overstaffing can cause problems too, like at the I-35W bridge collapse. When the incident or upset condition is large enough that it's an all-hands working event, this is not a situation I would characterize as overstaffed. In fact, arguably, it might be the situation that is understaffed depending on the complexity. The threshold for additional resources is determined by doing an assessment of how bad the incident can become. What is the potential for that? When you order additional resources in, consider putting those additional resources in a staging area, if for no other reason than to provide relief for the crews that are dealing with the problem. There will always be some extra personnel staged. When there are too many resources assembled at the scene of a problem, it can be difficult to find work for all of those residual people to do. This can cause the idle personnel to become antsy and anxious, and they want to get involved. And this can cause the idle personnel to become frustrated and feel like their time is being wasted. And this can lead to the idle personnel engaging in independent action, or what is sometimes referred to as freelancing activities. For those in charge who do not have the means to manage the actions of idle personnel, it can impact situational awareness because it can distract or pull the attention away of the person in charge, because now their attention has to be shared between the actual emergency and dealing with those people who are perhaps engaging in independent action or complaining about not being utilized. The person in charge has a limited amount of cognitive resources, and dealing with idle personnel is something that they really don't need to be saddled with. When it comes to staffing for an emergency or an upset condition, consider applying the Goldilocks doctrine. Not too many people, not too few people, but just the right number of people. It can, however, be difficult to determine the right level of staffing for an emergency or an upset condition prior to assessing the actual situation. If given the choice, it is always better to front load some staffing. The earlier resources are dispatched, the better chance that the person in charge is not going to become overwhelmed from inadequate staffing. Here are some best practices to consider when front loading your staffing. Establish a personnel staging area early. When front-loading people, it's a good idea to establish a staging area for non-committed personnel and to communicate the location well in advance so that the people arriving at the location of the emergency or the upset condition know where to report. Some thought should be given to the location of that staging area. If the staging area is too close to the emergency, needed resources or those resources that are not needed may engage in independent action or freelancing. In other words, they're so close they're just going to jump right into the action without really being told what to do. Consider designating a person to be in charge of the personnel staging area. Establishing a staging manager position can also assist the person in charge with managing the non-committed personnel. Absent a staging manager to coordinate the extra personnel, each person arriving at an emergency or upset condition may feel the need or obligation to go directly to the person in charge. I recall interviewing an emergency manager once where his attention to the actual emergency was drawn off task many times because as people were arriving, all of them wanted to come up and report directly to the person in charge and get updates and get assignments. And this caused this person to get overwhelmed very quickly. Sometimes unused personnel also get bored, and then they might want to ask the person in charge if they can be released from the incident, and because they're tired of sitting in the staging area. Managing large or complex emergency requires a great deal of mental resources on the part of the person in charge. The last thing this person needs is his or her attention needlessly being utilized with communications that are unnecessary from someone who's bored or just tired of standing around. Assign an assistant to the person in charge to help track personnel. This assistant should keep track of all the personnel operating at the emergency and upset condition, and this includes all the personnel that are in the staging area. A plan should be devised for rotating fresh people into the incident operations, and that should be done through a staging manager or staging coordinator. Chances are that if some personnel have been in the staging area for a while, those operating on the front line of the emergency or the upset condition are in dire need of a break. And if they're not given a break, then the incident complexity can become more difficult as those frontline personnel become fatigued. The person in charge that I had interviewed that I mentioned a few moments ago admitted to me that he had forgotten about some of the additional resources that he had in his staging area. At this particular emergency, it was very labor intensive, and the person in charge wasn't sure how many people he was going to need, so he kind of front loaded it and stuck a lot of people in his staging area. And then he kind of forgot about it, that those people were in the staging area. And then he got frustrated, and then they kept calling, and then that kept drawing his attention away, and that impacted his situational awareness from the big incident because he was dealing with all of those staged resources. So consider having somebody in charge of that area can alleviate that. Consider using a personnel tracking system. Using a personnel accountability system as a resource management tool, be it paper or electronic, can be a valuable way of tracking people, including the staged personnel. Periodically review your emergency response procedures to ensure you have appropriate staffing being dispatched on the front end of any potentially critical emergency or upset condition. Consider additional staffing on the front end for complex hazards and other special circumstances like excessive weather conditions. In case you missed episodes 214 and 215, you might want to go back and give them a listen. I interviewed Deputy Fire Chief Dave Beauregard about a near-miss event he had where if circumstances were just slightly different, Dave might have been killed. And there's some great lessons to be learned in that interview. And thank you, Dave, for sharing. And speaking of sharing the lessons from near-miss events, I have a favor to ask of you, the listeners and the viewers of this show. The primary reason I created this show in the beginning was to provide a platform for those who had experienced near-miss events to share their stories. The experiences that have been shared here have been nothing short of amazing and extremely educational. And I'd like to get more of those lessons shared with the listeners and viewers of this show, but I need your help to do so. If you've experienced or witnessed a workplace near-miss event and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, contact me by visiting the SA Matters website and clicking on the Contact Us tab on the top of the homepage. Think about it for a moment. The lessons learned from your near-miss event could save someone else's life. That's really powerful. What a wonderful gift that would be. If you want to share your experience, contact me. All right, I want to share a piece of feedback that I received from a graduate of the SA Matters Online Academy. If you're not familiar with the Online Academy, it's internet-based 14 courses that teaches everything about situational awareness from A to Z on your computer, on your time, and you have 6 months to complete it. It is the most robust offering of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making that I have available. All right, so here's the feedback. The Online Academy was a really good experience for me. We had a serious working fire in our first area within the first few weeks of me starting the Academy. Since the lessons from the Academy were so fresh in my mind, it was a great experience for me to be able to apply the information I learned to help me at this fire. It really made me think about how I was applying the lessons to this incident, and it made me adapt some of my incident command practices. And he didn't want to share his full name, so I'll just say thank you, Chief Tim, for your feedback. Okay, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank the companies, organizations, and agencies, departments that have hosted recent situational awareness programs. I do this to show my appreciation of those who put forth the effort to organize, advertise, and fund great training on this important topic. Recent Situational Awareness Matters tour stop events included the Iowa Women's Conference in Tysons, Virginia, and the New Brunswick Fire Chiefs Conference in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stops include where I am now, Fire Rescue Med in Henderson, Nevada. July 14-15, the Ohio Fire Chiefs Conference in Columbus, Ohio. July 19 through 27, Syncrude Oil Refinery in Fort McMurray, Alberta. August 3 and 4, Evansville Fire Department in Evansville, Indiana. August 9 and 10, Fire Rescue International in Dallas, Texas. August 11 and 12, Northwest Fire District in Houston, Texas. August 13 to 16, Missouri City Fire Department in Missouri City, Texas. August 17 and 18, League City Fire Department in League City, Texas. That's a little Texas tour going on there. August 21 to 24, back at the Syncrude Oil Refinery in Fort McMurray, Alberta. If you're interested in seeing all the locations of all the upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop events, just go to the SA Matters website and click on that blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Live Training Dates. The schedule is always changing, so check back often. If you're interested in hosting a Situational Awareness Matters program, just stop by the SA Matters website and click on that Contact Us tab to reach out to me. There are over 100 program dates already scheduled for 2018 and about 24 scheduled for 2019. I have a few dates remaining in the fall of 2018, so if you're interested in getting something in this year, contact me right away. If you're inspired to learn more about best practices for improving situational awareness and high-risk decision-making, then consider getting connected with me and becoming part of this mission. There are several ways you can do that. There are over 75,000 people connected with us through our newsletter membership, our podcast subscribers, our YouTube channel subscribers, and followers on our social media feeds of Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. It is through these channels that we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. All right, let's start with the newsletter. It's completely free. The newsletter will come to you by email once a month, and it contains featured content from more than 400 articles on the SA Matters blog and from more than 200 podcast episodes here on the SA Matters show, and from more than 300 videos on the SA Matters TV YouTube channel. And occasionally in the newsletter, I'll offer subscribers some special discounts on books, videos, virtual training, the online academy, and live events. And those specials are exclusively for the newsletter subscribers. The newsletter truly is the best way for us to stay in touch with each other. Now, there are two ways you can subscribe to the newsletter. First, if you're in the United States and you have a smartphone, you can text SA Matters to 22828. That's the letter S as in Sam, the letter A as in Adam, and the word Matters, SA Matters, all one word together, to 22828. Be sure to check your autocorrect because it might try to change the word SA Matters to something else. If you do it right, you get a text message back on your phone to enter your email address. And once you've done that, you're signed up for the newsletter. It's that simple. Now, I know some of you don't have smartphones, or you don't like to do the texting thing, or you're not located in the United States. In that case, just swing by the samatters.com website and click on the red box on the right side of the homepage labeled Free Membership. All right, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, you can subscribe by searching for SA Matters Radio on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel by searching SA Matters TV, all one word, SA Matters TV, on YouTube. You can follow the SA Matters page on Facebook. You can follow the @RichGasaway Twitter feed, and you can search for Rich Gasaway on LinkedIn. All right, finally, the SA Matters show and SA Matters TV YouTube channel have been blessed to have over 800,000 downloads and views, making the SA Matters show and SA Matters TV officially the longest consecutive running, fastest growing, independently operated, safety-focused show on the internet. And I'm looking for an additional sponsor. So if you know a company that might be interested in advertising their product or service on this show, ask them to contact me through the SA Matters website. Well, that's it. Episode 217 is complete. Thank you to our awesome podcast sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to all the companies, agencies, and organizations that have hosted live situational awareness programs. Thank you to all the organizations that have hosted the virtual internet-based training programs. Thank you to the more than 2,000 students and graduates of the acclaimed Situational Awareness Matters Online Academy. And most importantly, thank you, the listeners and viewers of this show, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.